Hey guys, this is John, and I am back again with another multi-item sorter. And this is, I didn't make this really to be survival friendly. I made this just to see, what could happen and what could be done, right? So I may go through other revisions to see if I can get it smaller and more compact and something actually useful in the game. But I'll just go over what this is and what it does. So if you watched my last item sorter video, so I made something that looked similar to this. But what we have here is we have an index of 16 different chests, and you're not supposed to be in there. I had a snowball in there because I was testing it out to see if it could handle items that stack to 16. But a part of the thing that needs to be worked on is this part up here, and that's what actually broke with the items that stack to 16. But anyway, so we have different chests up here. You see I have a lot that are just empty, but these are our index items. So each chest up here will correspond with a chest down here on the output. Okay, so each one of these 16 chests can hold a maximum of 27 different items that can be sorted into it. Okay, and I'll just go through. Let me just drop something in, and we can just show you what it does. So it's going to, I input an item, it's going to search for the item, and actually it already found it because it was just the next chest over. So we have an indicator light here to show that it's sorting. And so let me just give you a little idea of what it does. So when we input an item, so first it has to finish, sorting the sandstone. And we're about done. Okay. So when you input an item, it starts to go through the index. So right now, it is comparing the input item with every item in every one of the index chests. So it's comparing the block that I just put in to 27 different items in each one of these chests. So that's how quickly it actually compares the items. So it found the chest, and if we give it a second here, we're going to see it. Okay, so there's the cobblestone that we put in. So I'll go through some of the different parts that makes up this item sorter, but this is probably going to be one of the fastest, most I don't know what you would call it, but most comprehensive slot reservation free multi-item sorters. And there are a couple ways that it can be expanded upon, but I won't get into that. So some of the different parts here, we have this part that I call an item batch filter. Okay, and we can go into that in more detail down there in the ground. So we have the item batch filter. That's where your original input is. Then that comes down to the item controller, or the controller. Then we have the item sorter, which is just this green section here. The gray section here is the clock that controls the rates of the piston cycling, the chest cycling. This blue section here, this is the piston controller. And then down here on the bottom, this is the output hopper controller. So if you'd like more info on this, I did a pretty thorough explanation of all this in the previous video that I made, the previous multi-item sorter. So the basis of this is, first we have the controller, and then we have the item sorter. So this, if you watch my previous slot reservation free multi-item sorter videos, it's a mouthful, I'll just call it slot free. But if you watch my previous videos, you see that I came up with this item sorter. And the purpose of this is to, if you have, say this is your index chest, right? And my index chest has a redstone dust, right? So every time I input an item, it's going to, if there is a redstone up here, then it's going to unlock, after the item gets into the filter hopper, it's going to unlock that and it's going to pull down both of them, right? So in the slot-free item sorters, what it would do was it would take the two items, right? If it's sorted, it would take the two items, it would send one of them to the output, and then it would send the other item back up into the index. Okay. So, you know, the thing that I made, that was half hopper speed, right? Because you had to input the item and then it had to check and then it had to go out and output into another one and then go through that one and on and on and on. Well, this we're just using one, first of all, and this is full hopper speed, you know, and I mean full hopper speed. So this is an idea that I had while working on that. So the way that it works is the controller here. Let's see if I have any junk in here. Okay. So the controller is really just a type of item splitter. Okay. So let's just say that if we put in 6 items, right? So you can see that 3 of the items are going to come into this output, and 3 of the items are going to come into this output. So what we're doing up there is we're passing our index chest right here, right? So this would be full of items with filler, you know, so these are the items that I want to go into that output, right? And then I just use filler, okay? So if the item, so if I put in the 6 paper again, if there's no chest here for the item to go into, then it's going to lock up, okay? So what it's going to do is it's going to hold a piece of paper here, waiting for a chest that it can push the paper into, and the next piece of paper is going to be locked up here, waiting for a chest before it can come down. So the index chest is going to be this chest right here, right? So what we're doing, you can see, is that we have a hopper that's going to be pushing the item into this chest. And if it can go into this chest, then it will push one in, and it will also allow one to come down into the sorter. Okay, so what that means is, like, if this is my index item is the redstone, so then I'm going to push a redstone in here, and I'm also going to push a redstone there. So what's going to happen is it's going to leave me with my index item in the top chest in the index, and then the 2 redstone that I inputted are going to come into the output. Okay, so that's pretty much like the brains of the system, is that, you know, we push an item into the index and then we allow an item to come down, and the 2 items that we put will both go out to the output. But that also leaves us with another problem, which brings in the batch filter. So the other problem is that because this is an item splitter, well, how can you equally divide an even number of items or an odd number of items? You know, so you cannot equally divide an odd number of items. So if let's just say we put in 7, right? So if we put in an odd number of items, what's going to happen is, because we put in 7, we're going to have 3 items, you know, actually a total of 6 that are going to get sorted, right? So we're going to have 3 come down from here to go to the output, and we're going to have the 3 from here that go to the output. But because we put in an odd number, the last piece of paper that we put in is just going to get stuck in the index because there's no other piece of paper for it to match with to, you know, go to the output. So if you look at some of these output or the index items, you see that we have 2, and that's the reason why. Some of them we have more. Because if you put in an odd number of items, like with the torch, I put in a couple of them. So if you put in an odd number of items, you're going to be left with an item stuck in the index. Now, that doesn't break the system, All it's going to do is eventually, if you fill up with enough items, just say the door, right? So eventually, if you fill up until the point where you have a full stack of doors here, then all that's going to do is if you input another door, it's just going to keep cycling and searching for, a place for your input to go. So if you realize that there's a problem, you can just turn the system off, go into the stack, pull out all the excess doors, and then put one back. And then in fact, you could turn it back on and then just, put the rest of the doors back in the sorter and they'll all go back down into the output, right? So that's one of the issues is odd number items, right? But that also creates another problem. So if I put in, just say I put in the same pieces of paper, right? But I also put in, just say a stack of something else. So because it found the index chest for the paper, then my output is going to be lined up with my output chest for the paper, right? So it's going to sort the paper, but now because we have, I left that one in there. But now because we have, an extra piece of paper up here that, did not have an item following it, it did not have another piece of paper following it, it's going to pull down the, one item from the next stack, and you're going to see that item come out into your paper sorting chest. So if you put in odd numbers, it can actually cause the the sorter to not break, but it'll just start dumping in items in random chests, right? So that brings us to the batch filter here. Let's see. So I'll just go ahead and reset it. So what this does is this will sort out items by item type. And it's lossless, so you can't, you're never going to lose an item. But what it does is if you put multiple items into this chest, I'll just go ahead and show you. So I put in 19 paper, right? So it's going to pull down all the paper. No, what did I do here? I did something wrong. Torch is off? Okay. We'll have to... Oh. I'm missing a filter. Where'd my filter go? I must have pulled it out. So let's go ahead and restart the test. Okay. So if I put in 19 pieces of paper after I reset it. Okay, so it's going to pull down all the pieces of paper at hopper speed, right? And after that, the system is going to lock up because of this little memory circuit here. So all of my paper will come down, right? And then this will lock up, causing any other items to, get stuck here. So nothing else can get pulled down. And then after the sorter has found the paper, or whatever the first item was, then when the sorter gets completed, that's going to send a signal here that will come back up to the top, and it will reset this, right? So then it can start pulling down the next item. So this is a pretty simple way that I came up with to, to actually separate items out. So now we don't have to worry about, odd numbers or even numbers, because we're going to only get one specific item type at a time. you know, and it doesn't matter, the amount of items that you put in don't matter, you know, because you can put in, you know, like a couple stacks of whatever, and then whatever after that, you know. So like if I put in, you know, items like that in different places, it doesn't matter, because as soon as it gets done with, just make it quicker. As soon as it gets done with the first cobble, it's going to pull down the second cobble. It'll pull out every of that item type, you know, because all that'll go into the sorter at the same time. And then it'll lock up once it gets done with the cobble. And this is also the reason why you cannot use 16 stackable items. You know, this is only a 64 stackable item filter because of this. If we put in a snowball in here, then it's actually going to cause this to pull down one of the filters, you know, and then it'll break. So I'm still looking at a workaround for that. But so that's the heart of the system, the controller and the item filter or the batch filter. Item sorter, you know, the clock, all that. I'll show you the piston mechanism. I got a little display over here. Let's see. So this is a special little circuit that I came up with because we have our first, you know, if this was a chest here, right? So we have our index chest that's sitting down on top of the sorter. So what this circuit does is when you send it a 1-tick pulse, it's going to pull up the sticky piston there, and then it's going to fire this piston and this piston at the same time, right? So we can go through a couple cycles here so you can see it. And it's a pretty simple circuit. You just have your, you know, power coming down into this little, you know, comparator pulse extender, and that comes out to a torch, which is powering the sticky piston. And then outside of that, you use this little 1-tick generator to send a pulse to power these two pistons, right? And then for the other two, for the makeup, you know, you're going to use observers with a repeater and then a piston here to push the blocks back in place. So it's a pretty little simple circuit that I made, you know, and it's very stable. It hasn't broken yet. So we'll go ahead and run this through a few more cycles here, because it's just, to me, honestly, it's amazing that each time this chest passes by something. Let's grab some wool. Grab some orange wool, and how about some, since we're talking about doors, how about some doors? Yeah. Got some acacia doors and some orange wool. There you go. Yeah, so see, it already found the wool, right? And that's going to be coming down at hopper speed. So it's just, like I was saying, it's just amazing to me that every time this moves, every time the pistons move, it's comparing your input item with 27 different items at the same time, you know? And it might be able to get a little bit faster, but with this setup, that was the fastest clock I could get. Because the issue isn't, you know, the actual sorting. The issue is stopping the clock fast enough, you know? Because with this stuff here, you have to have, you know, repeaters and stuff to come by and lock the clock, right? You know, and all those ticks add time, and yeah. And anyway, so it found the doors. So that's about it. This is kind of just a short little update video, because this thing is just, even though this is all big and bulky right now, you know, this thing, I think it's just really amazing. So I'll probably try to work on it, see if I can get it smaller and maybe survival friendly. But, you know, I may even try to expand it and see if we can get more than 16 output chests. But already, I mean, this is over 400 items that can be sorted here, you know. So that's a lot of stuff that you could sort into this filter, you know, sorting by categories. You know, like all the woods and planks. This is all the, like the, you know, whatever they call that, the wood and the stripped wood, and then the saplings and everything else. That's all your different food types. You know, so you can hold a lot of stuff, you can sort a lot of stuff and do it very quickly. I've only seen a couple other things that actually operate similar to this. Like in my last video, I said that there was the sorter by Techman88 that was similar to that one, that actually searched through all the items, you know. And this one is just such a completely different principle. I don't know if anybody else has done anything like this. So anyway, I guess that's all. If anybody wants any more info on any of these circuits, you can let me know, because I think most of these, that's been done before, but I think this is pretty new, and I don't think I haven't seen anything like this before. And you know, an item batch filter that actually you know, stops and locks up and only allows one item type to go through at a time. So if anybody else wants any more information, you can feel free to let me know. Until then, I'll probably keep working on trying to make something better. So thanks for watching.